Working statement, it's a little far away.
All right, should be good to go, Dominic.
10 seconds.
All right, I want to welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for September 14th, 2022. If everybody could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, is Noreen, are you on there? Could you do roll
Yes.
call, please?
I sure can. Chairman Payne? Okay,
Here.
Chairman Payne. Commissioner Claffey?
He's excused. He called me.
Okay. Commissioner Haggerty?
Here.
Commissioner Havens?
Here.
Commissioner Linares?
Here.
Commissioner Trister?
Here.
Commissioner Woods?
Commissioner Woods is excused too. He couldn't make it and he called me.
Okay. Commissioner Braverman? Commissioner Droz?
Here.
Commissioner Gill?
Commissioner Gill gave me a call too. He's excused. He had a work-related problem.
Okay, you're all set then.
Very good. Thank you very much. And if I'd like to sit Commissioner Droz for Commissioner Claffey. Next thing on the agenda is approval for the agenda. I don't think there's any changes to the agenda at all.
No changes to the agenda, Mr. Chairman.
We're at public participation for items not listed on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. If you're on within the Zoom application, to raise your hand if you'd like to participate during public participation. If calling in the Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand to be recognized, or use *6 to recognize to speak by telephone. State your name and address for the record. Is there anybody wishing to speak?
There's no one online, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none, we're going to go into the zoning enforcement officer report. Everybody has a report from the zoning enforcement officer. Looks like they've been busy. Is there any questions from commissioners?
A question, Mr. Chairman.
Go right ahead, Commissioner Haggerty.
Eric, I kind of came on the commission when the whole 260 Stam Road, this was a gentleman who was operating a used automobile sales and service without state and local permits. Is that just the initial gist?
Yeah, he has no auto-related use permit for that site. This has been ongoing at that site since 1984.
Selling used cars and servicing? or
What he does now is he buys total vehicles, mostly Imprezas and Priuses. And what he does is he disassembles them. Doesn't matter what year, and he puts all the parts for one vehicle in a crate and they go to either Poland or the Ukraine. He ships them overseas. That's what he's described it as, but he doesn't have the auto-related use permit from us. And he's had some issues with DMV in the past as well.
Thank you.
Along those lines, to date, we've removed 17 vehicles from the site. They're being stored at the highway garage. All the cars from the outside of the building are gone now. The inside is completely stuffed with vehicles still as well that we could potentially take, but we kind of made a statement to start, and we're holding him to see if he wants to pay the towing and storage fees to recover said vehicles. And then he's also storing vehicles on another property currently on Stam Road that we're going after.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners? Do you have anything that you'd like to add on the zoning?
No, I think that's pretty much it. For some reason, we had a lot of chickens and roosters this month. So probably, I guess they've all grown up over they got them in the spring, they grew up over the summer and found out half of them are roosters. So otherwise, that's it. Yeah, kind of busy, a lot of calls on different things.
very good. Thank you very much. Good report. Yes.
Is there another copy of the agenda?
Um,
I read through it online.
There's cops right there, Commissioner Rhodes.
I read through it online.
Yep.
But there's normally one when I get here.
I can try and put a few at the door there, so you're very welcome.
All right. Yeah. Hearing nothing else, we'll move on. Any remarks from commissioners? All right, the first thing we're gonna do is we'll go into our public hearing. And I'm gonna have the secretary read the procedures for our public hearing, please.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Procedures for public hearings. The order of proceedings of public hearings shall be as follows. A, convening by chairperson. B, reading of the notice by the commission secretary or commissioner designated by the chairperson to act in their stead. C, presentation by applicant. D, town planner report on the application. E, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application, limited to 3 minutes per person. F, persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application, limited to 3 minutes per person. G, rebuttal by the applicant, limited to 5 minutes total. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairperson whether the time limitation should be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance by a majority vote.
Very good. And could I have Commissioner Lawrence, could you read our first public hearing, which is petition 35-22, please?
Sure, petition 35-22, special permit, section 3.17.6 for recreational use, gym in the industrial I zone at 190 Fen Road, applicant Topside Athletics LLC, owner 190 Fen Road LLC, contact Kevin Witchy.
Welcome. If you'd like to come up here to the mic, maybe state your name and tell us a little bit about what you plan on doing.
Hi, my name is Kevin Witchy. I plan on using the facility for CrossFit gym. We are a functional fitness facility. We operate, we provide group fitness classes for the general public as well as personal training. Currently, we are looking to have class sizes capacity of 8 people, so relatively small group classes in hopes to provide more value to the members, more coaching, more one-on-one time in the group class setting, with also having that camaraderie of doing fitness and working out with other people.
Could you just go over the hours again of operation?
Absolutely. Right now, we're looking Monday through Saturday,
Mhm.
roughly 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning. And then in the afternoon, it'll be roughly 4:35 to 7 p.m.
Okay. But nothing says that during the afternoon, you may end up, after it gets busy, you may have more
Yes.
times.
Yep.
So, which is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Is commissioners have any questions? Staff?
Now, you've read the staff report that there's ample parking there now for what he's talking about. It meets the requirement. I think it's a good use in that area, you know, and it's gonna reoccupy that building.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great use for the building and
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
certainly, go right ahead.
Is there an intention to eventually expand outside the building? I just saw that there was a comment about instruction occurring outside. Is there any-
No, we just given the space that we have to work with, we don't plan on doing any outdoor activities.
Okay.
Is that the question?
Yes.
No, we aren't gonna do any instruction outside.
Okay.
There's not a safe spot to do that.
Okay.
We might, however, have, like, on a cool down, have members walk around the building.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
we just put that comment in there just in case, you know, in the future, he can create some kind of space that's usable. That's all, just to.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll go to the public. Is there anybody online wishing to speak in favor of this application?
There's no one online.
Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? And there's no one online at all. Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, I'd entertain making a motion to move, to close petition 35-22 and move it to old business for action tonight.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Haggard, Havens, I'm sorry, seconded by Commissioner Lenars. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, TPZ minutes of 8/10/22. Entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion moved. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Commissioner Rhodes. Any discussion or corrections of the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Abstain? The motion passes for the minutes. And we have no new business. And first thing on old business is petition 35-22. I'll entertain a motion from someone.
Make a motion for petition 35-22, special permit, section 3.17.6 for recreational use gym in the industrial I zone at 190 Fen Road. Applicant Topside Athletics LLC. Owner 190 Fen Road LLC. Contact Kevin Witchy.
I did leave a draft motion for you there. There are a couple conditions we put on it. If you choose not to do them, that's fine. One of them is about the, just about the outdoor activity, so.
Number 2 is necessary though, right?
Number 2, yes, that is correct. All
Number 2
special
is,
permits.
number 2 of the conditions is necessary. 1 is optional. I'll leave it up to the reader. Because they've already stated for the record, they're not gonna do anything outside.
Conditions, number 1, any instruction is to occur outside. The parking aisles and portion of the building immediately adjacent to the main entrance shall remain free of obstructions at all times. Condition 2, this approval shall not be valid until the certificate of action has been filed on the land records. Okay, motion has been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Lenars.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations and good luck on your business.
You'll get an approval in the mail that you're gonna have to record on the land record.
Thank you.
No problem. Good luck.
Okay, we just, we're at petitions for public hearing scheduling. At our next meeting, we have just one petition right now. We may have one other one. Down on Stam Road for recreation, and then there's another one possibly coming, right?
There's another one for home occupation, photo studio on Atwood Street that came in after this agenda got done, but it will make the next meeting.
Okay. We have CROG letters. Yep, town planners report, go right ahead.
So, I left for each of you at your table, we have some things we've discussed in the past few meetings over the last couple months. We've revised some regulations about RVs. So we left a draft there for you guys to look at and review. And we also added a section about the temporary events that we had discussed about tent sales and fireworks sales, stuff like that. So this is language that we could, if you guys are okay with, amenable to it, we can schedule these for text amendments. If you guys want to review them and have some additional comments, that's fine. We can discuss some of those this evening.
Okay.
Do you have a copy of those, Mr. Hinckley?
It should be right there in front of you. Huh.
Is this what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, the packet that wasn't here when I came in, so I'm like.
Yeah. So, yeah, because these weren't included in the packet. We just drafted these, so. So the one that has the blue, that's the one about RVs. And then the one that just has the little red and says new, that's the temporary events. And that's just all an entirely new section. So, and Mike kind of talked about the temporary events at one of the prior meetings. And so that's why this is the draft language potentially. And then the stuff for RVs, if you guys even think you know, want to tweak it or not. So the thing,
So,
yep,
so why don't we go through this, starting at 3.2, 3.4, temporary events,
Yep.
new. Approval for a temporary event or use may be obtained in accordance with the standards below. A, minor temporary events which can be conducted on the subject property in a manner which is in keeping with the general use and scale of the property and surrounding neighborhood, including but not limited to temporary retail, sales, promotional or community events and fundraisers which meet the following criteria may be approved by the CEO following the issuance of a zoning permit. Number one, the portion of the property to be occupied by the event does not exceed 50% of the parcel area or parking spaces. Two, for public events which involve the sale of alcohol, the principal use of the property is not a restaurant, bar, or similar establishment. Let me see, for public events which involve the sale of alcohol, the principal use of the property is not a restaurant, bar, or similar establishment. Such event, number three, such event or use does not expand any nonconformity that may exist on the property. Four, the operation of the event will not impede on-site vehicle or pedestrian traffic. And five, any on-site entertainment does not include amplified sound. And six, following any necessary reviews by the fire, police, health, and building departments, any comments or concerns presented have been satisfactorily addressed by the applicant. And seven, for any event in which the size, scale, or operation may exceed the intent or criteria above, the ZO may refer such application to the commission for review. And then B, major temporary events may be allowed following the issuance of a special permit by the Town Planning and Zoning Commission. Such activities shall include, but not limited to, any temporary event or use which, one, does not meet the criteria of section 2.23.4A, two, involves the sale of alcohol to the public, three, is to be conducted within an area more than 1 acre.
you're just trying to come up with a size area. I mean, you can change that to 2,000 square feet, whatever you want. I mean,
Or is planned to host more attendees than would reasonably be accommodated by the on-premises parking facilities. And C, any approval granted by the CEO, town planner, town planning and zoning commission shall require the property owner's acknowledgement that such approval is temporary in nature and is therefore willfully terminated following the cessation of such event or use. Commissioners, I'll open it up for questions or comments on what is being proposed. I think it serves a purpose where not all the small temporary things coming in where we have to review.
right, so basically, you know,
Gets
to
back
get
up
like
to stuff.
Leslie's that wants to do a spa sale for a weekend or the fireworks sale, those are the big ones. You know, PC Richards does some big sales, Bob's does them once in a while. You know, when we have at least some criteria to work with, like, hey, this is fine, I can sign off on it as a zoning permit. You know, we'll put a beginning and an end date on it and we move forward. You know, the bigger events, you know, fundraisers that might be selling alcohol or stuff like that, or we think are gonna be, you know, pretty big, then you guys will at least have a review. And if you're comfortable, you guys can move forward, so.
Any questions from the commissioners? What do you guys think?
I think it's great. I think it's twofold. It obviously alleviates them to having to come in front of us when these tent sales come in and fireworks. They've worked with you before they get here, and you give us this thing all mapped out and just to sign off on. It's almost a formality, so it avoids it from us having to go through it, obviously you have to do it, we appreciate that, but it also puts some structure down on paper for them to abide by, and I think it's great on both sides.
And then the other thing is with that is, if they happen to come in short dated or something, then,
Quick.
They'll never meet.
the advertising requirements we have for the special permits.
It's-
So this way there's a little more latitude. As long as they meet these requirements, I can issue the zoning permit.
And obviously you drafted all of this?
Mike did most of it,
You
honestly.
guys are comfortable with it, like you kind of looked at every possible thing that can come, and like you said,
We tried to.
Yeah, of course,
So,
of course.
Maybe it needs to get tweaked in a year. We'll find out.
if
But
something comes up, yeah.
Mhm.
honestly,
Totally on board.
I'm trying to think, the last couple of years, it's basically been the fireworks, and I think I had one tent sale for Leslie's. Because I think PC Richards came in, you guys gave him a special permit for like 3 or 4 years for their annual tent sale. So, and they made that comment. Otherwise, I think that's, Mike, did you have any other input on the tent sale one? We're just reviewing it now.
Which application?
It's not an application, it's just a text amendment for the tent sales that we just went.
Temporary.
Temporary events.
The temporary event, sorry,
Oh.
sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm off my house, so I was trying to
Yeah,
tell people not to show up. The one that we worked on.
yep, the one we drafted. You drafted mostly.
I didn't have anything else other than,
The only thing we have to question on is the size. You just have more than 1 acre. I mean, and I told them we can,
so I drafted it with a couple of things in mind. If you have events similar to like the flea market or a flea market, which would go on for several hours in any given day, but it maybe happens every Saturday, or a car show every Saturday for 4 months. So trying to create something with a duration that wouldn't overly restrict something that was occurring, sort of here and there over a long start and stop time. But then also, obviously, there have been certain operations on the Turnpike, for example, in years past, Cinco de Mayo and other events, which has created a large sort of demand on town services and other things. So not wanting to allow those types of events to be too big. So I sort of drafted with those things in mind. Those are in sort of a sliding scale that can be adjusted.
Yeah, basically 3 is to be conducted within an area more than 1 acre. So anything that's really big is going to be coming back to the Planning and Zoning
Right, so,
Commission for
yeah.
review. But number 4 kind of covers that too. Is planned to host more attendees than would reasonably be accommodated by the on-premises parking facility. That means that the whole thing is too big. So
right.
that's another reason why it's coming back to us. So I have no problem with this, the way it's written. Any other commissioners have any further questions?
I agree with the previous comments. This is a great idea. It streamlines. Like Eric was saying, some people may miss the cutoff date for temporary permits. Makes our job a little easier here. And with it down in writing, there's continuity. As Mike was saying, it's easier for people to stick to the rules and make sure they cross the Ts, dot the Is.
Mhm. So does this have to go to CROG?
It's a text amendment, so yes, it will have to go to CROG.
Okay.
So we'll get all that moving along.
Okay. Yeah, I think it looks fine. I have no
Yeah.
problem with it.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing was the rewriting of the boat, which I
Yeah.
think starts at D. I asked them to look at this to try to make it a little easier. So D, it says, no boat, trailer, camper, recreation vehicle may be parked or stored in any side yard without providing a 6-foot fencing or plantings installed between any permitted vehicle and the adjoining property. So they're adding fencing to that. And then E, it says, let's see if I have no boat, trailer, camper, or recreational vehicle, which is more than 25 feet? Or, okay,
That's what we-
feet in length, in overall length, or 8 feet in height, may be parked or stored in a rear yard without the issuance of a zoning permit demonstrating compliance with the following criteria: a plot plan indicating location The vehicle is to be stored, including information related to property lines, easements, well, or septic has been provided. 2, continuing screening of not less than 8 feet in height shall be provided. And 3, the subject vehicle shall not be parked or stored within 15 feet of the dwelling or within 10 feet of the property line. And then F, no boat, trailer, camper, recreation vehicle shall exceed an overall length of 45 feet. So the only question I have is, if you store a camper or a boat on your side yard and you have a fence that's 6 inches or a foot off your property line, you can park your boat or your camper with no requirements on how close it is to the property line.
Well, there is a 5-foot rule for parking of vehicles.
Okay, so there is an inherent.
There is an
5-foot
inherent 5-foot rule.
Okay.
Is it strictly enforced? Honestly, no, because on some of these R12 places that
fairly rough.
that back in a 35 footer on the side, it's not happening. They're not gonna get it.
So I'm wondering whether or not why we came up with a 10-foot property line when it goes into the rear yard. Why we're proposing that. I'm just wondering if that's a little gonna be difficult for people to comply with.
There is no high-level rationale behind it, other than if you want to park a 35-foot motorhome in your backyard, you should deal with it, not your neighbor. That's really where that comes from.
Right, I mean, so
We
if
looked at some, I don't know if you told them this already, on stuff.
No.
But we basically had the assessor give us a dump of parameters. And we went through and we sorted by class code to get a sense of how many of these vehicles exist, to get an idea. Are we talking about 20 or are we talking about 2,000? There is a significant amount of large trailers. Not as many RVs as at least I personally was expecting.
right,
So you're not talking hundreds, but there's more than 50 that are probably 25 plus. So I think the idea was, given that these things, if you're living in a more densely populated area of town, you're sitting in your back patio, someone has a 35-foot motorhome, it could be 8 feet tall, and if they're parking it right on the property line in an R7 or something, it might be a little
you're gonna be
tough
looking
to
at
deal
it.
with 24/7. So there's no other rationale behind that, other than trying to prevent conflict. The only other sort of things that I mentioned here, the reason for property lines and plot plan are related to the fact that a small number of people here are on septic, and we need to understand those things. We need to make sure there's not easements and stuff that gets in the way.
They don't wanna park that on their own septic field or septic tank and not realize it.
Or in a drainage easement. The 45-foot length ties to the maximum length of your residential, can drive it without some special certification motorhome that the DOT has in Connecticut. So that 45-foot length is there. So you're not gonna have somebody try to use this reg to park a 53-foot box trailer from like a semi truck or something.
So the other, to speak to what Mike's speaking about from the property line, not that this really has any bearing, but it's interesting to note. You probably got, a lot of you aware, we had that big fire on Audubon a couple weeks ago. There was an RV there parked on the property line that caught fire as well. It got so hot, it melted the siding on the adjoining house. Not that that's always gonna happen, but these are inherent, they have fuel in them, they have propane, so if it goes up, it's gonna go. The other thing is, currently we're capping it at 35 feet. So we don't know how many of these that are over 35 feet currently may be stored out of town. So if we change this to 45 feet, we may get an influx back. Oh, I can bring this back to town, and we may get a few more vehicles or trailers. And as Mike pointed out, a lot of these large trailers are actually owned by landscape type guys. Which is fine, it is what it is. It's part of their business, and some of them have them at their homes already, probably, and others just store them elsewhere. So we don't know if it would create an influx in some neighborhood agita if somebody sees, 3 or 4 just pop down the road. We don't know.
Yeah, okay. Commissioners, questions? Yes, Commissioner Jones.
Yeah, I would have two quick observations. One is you're saying that the campers wouldn't be able to be more than 8 feet in height? Is that the way I'm reading this?
No, if they're over 8 feet in height, they could be parked in the rear. Everything, they're all,
Relates to the screen.
Overall length or 8, the 10 is crossed out, 8 feet in length and height, maybe parked or, so are you reducing it from 10 to 8? Or are you increasing it from 8 to 10?
You want a hard copy?
First sentence.
even 10 is kind of short because the legal limit, isn't it, like 13.2 or something?
13's a fifth wheel, 10 changes a tow behind.
So 13.
And then
is-
you- with an air conditioner question mark.
Yeah, I mean,
It's, that's basically outlining.
and the other thing, you know, the screening in the backyard, you know, we're requesting 8 feet. And let's think about it. How long is it gonna take to get to 8 feet if they plant arborvitae's?
Well,
You know, because you can't put an 8-foot fence up in residential property.
Can you do that with a special permit?
It would be, actually be a variance.
Seeing a 6-foot fence and 6-foot trees, so then eventually the trees are gonna grow so that if there is a 13-foot camper there, that you're not gonna see it after a while, I would think.
Maybe so.
Just, you know, devil's advocate here, you know, somebody brings one of these in and the neighbor's really mad and they're gonna look to say, well, it says it's supposed to be 8 feet high. You know,
Right.
you know, we're not gonna get there. So that's.
Well, they do have 8-foot trees.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was referring to, it actually shows height of camper being 8 foot as a max.
You see that as a problem because a lot of stuff is up to
Top, yeah,
13 feet.
right.
They're not gonna be less than 8 feet. Unless those little pop-up kinds.
And there, you know, there are streets you can drive down in town now, or I got a call for a particular street, and somebody questioned, I said, I'll drive down there and look, and I counted 8 RVs in side yards. None of them had the screening or a fence. So.
Only other question would then be involving width of side yards. Because it's written, I think I'm reading this correctly, 15 feet away from the dwelling, plus the width of the camper, which is 8-ish, plus another 10 feet off the property line. Are we gonna have properties with 35 feet between house and property line in Newington, that many?
Well, if it's behind this, if it's, you know, you may in the rear yard, but I understand what you're saying. It's, you know, yeah, then you're gonna have to chicane it over. It's gonna be they're gonna be trashing their own yard.
Yards are 35 feet wide to be able to.
Right. I mean,
They're not gonna comply to this, and most of the people have this, and it's within possibly a few feet of their
Yeah.
garages.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but they're storing them on the side of their house or they're parking in them back.
This would be my
I
only
wanted to make this a little bit easier so that zoning enforcement isn't going out and measuring. It's either in the side yard and screened, or it's in the rear yard and screened,
Mhm.
you know, and then this is the maximum length,
Right.
you know, and try to keep it as simple as possible.
Mhm.
But any other questions?
Just to play devil's advocate, what if we have like a 23-foot, like mini Winnie type thing? All bets are off. You can park it wherever you want.
well,
that's-
I think the intention is to still not,
Just to put it on the side yard still.
If you read A, you still can't park in the front yard, done.
Okay.
That's there. It's not supposed to be in the driveway. Now, the couple calls that I do get in the spring, you know, I give people out there like, oh, they got to park in the driveway. I said, yeah, they're taking it out. They're winter, they're, you know, they're getting it ready for the summer season. And there are people that during the summer season, yeah, they go on their trips, they come back and they'll leave it in the front yard for a week till they take off on another trip. You know, they're not always gonna put it into the side yard or the backyard, and, you know, and I do get a little beat up on that on occasion, you know, because they're reading it to the letter of the law, the people that are angry about it, and so I try and work with people as much as I can during the season. But there are still people that will go out in the fall and in the winter, and, you know, with them as well. It's just,
Can we put something like that in there that, you know, you could have you know, for 2 days or I mean, but then you're gonna be running around.
Right,
trying
I
to
think the more you
police
put in
everything.
there and then, then, okay, well, he's had it there for 3 days and I can't get out there to look at it for another 2 and then it's gone or, it's like when people park on the grass in front of their house.
Yeah, okay.
They do it all
Yeah,
the time.
As
and
soon
then
as
they
I
go
said it, I knew it was kind of,
No,
not very good, intelligent.
So, I mean, it's point well taken, because a lot of folks, whether their vehicle, these things are on-site or off-site, if they're going on a trip, they need to have it in their driveway for a couple of days to pack it up, load it up, or at the end, they gotta clean it. So even if they're storing it, I mean, I know I dealt with people that store them in proper locations off their property, but the load, you've got a 40-foot, house on wheels, you've got to pack it all up. It takes time. So these things are in the driveway. So certainly there's a need. It is hard to police, but definitely.
I don't know if we had a problem with that really too much. Maybe an occasional call.
I've had a few, usually, like I said, mostly they come in the spring when they first pop out.
Mhm.
Or, maybe somebody just went and bought one and they bring it home in the spring and then the neighbors and Mike, like he said, he had dealt with a few over time.
Not significant, but.
Okay. Any other
I have
questions?
a
Commissioner?
question.
Go ahead.
Is it true there are no height or length requirements when parking in the side yard? Is that true? If that's true, why would you park your vehicle in the backyard where you would need 8 feet of screening versus 6 feet of screening on the side yard?
Because depending if you can squeeze it in the side yard, most people are gonna choose to do it in the side yard.
Okay.
I would think. Again, I think we're trying to protect the neighbors that may have to look at it, in the backyard with a larger.
Which I think whether it's in the side yard or rear yard, we're still have to protect the residents,
Sure.
whether either way. And so I think we should have a uniform,
Why not make the screening the same?
screening the same, whether it's a side yard or
Yeah.
rear yard.
Now we are, the catch-all here is now requiring a zoning permit.
For what, for anything, for all these?
For E.
But if you're under
In the
25.
rear yard, in the rear
Oh, the
yard.
rear
requirement,
yard.
Yes, sorry. To
Because
clarify.
you're under 25 feet and 8 feet in height, though, you do not need a permit, correct?
Yeah, if you store it in the side yard, you don't need.
So if it's over 25 feet and it's in a side yard, you need a permit?
No, that's only in the rear yard.
Only in the rear yard will it need a permit.
Correct.
Rear yard in excess of 25 feet needs a permit.
I'm sorry, yes. To clarify.
Okay.
So if you just back your toe behind back there, your pop-up, it's fine.
Okay. I think we need to relook at the height thing because a lot of these full campers, especially the ones that are drivable, are 13 feet or whatever.
Towable's 10
Yeah, so
plus an AC.
why don't we, if you guys could just review that one more time and then we'll bring it up at our next meeting and review it. Anybody else have any other suggestions? And keep in mind, try to keep it as simple as possible for enforcement. And
That's fine, because honestly, if somebody goes to store it in their backyard, they're just gonna put it in their backyard. They're not gonna call me and say, hey, do I need a permit to do this? No one's gonna do that.
No.
Their neighbor who's read this is gonna call me and say they didn't get a permit.
mhm.
And then, we start the process. That's how it's gonna go. I mean, I would think.
Okay, very good. If there's nothing else, we'll move on. What else do you have under town planner's report? Anything else?
Otherwise, there will be a couple other applications coming forth. We received one for not a public hearing, but a site plan modification. 705 North Mountain, the old Loctite building. They're going to be converting to self-storage. And then the empty lot across the street, they're gonna be building a new building there to move their tenants over at some point, and that will be on next agenda.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to communication. We have the CROG letters, which everybody's received. Anybody have any questions concerning those, or is there any other communications that's come in?
No. No other communications.
Hearing no questions, we'll move on to public participation. If there's anybody online that would like to speak about anything,
Looks like Rose is here. I don't know if she'd like to speak.
if you'd like, raise your hand in the Zoom to participate. All right, hearing none. Remarks from commissioners, have anybody had? Okay. These short meetings are nice. I'm sure we'll get some long ones eventually, guys. So don't worry, don't worry. We will get long ones. David approves it.
Motion to adjourn, guys? So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Smartest thing to come out of my mouth. That happened.
Yes, it does.